"Commander," Dr. Yin called out, her voice carrying an odd note that made Sarah turn. The elderly physicist was standing before one of the neural interface terminals, her expression one of wonder. I think it's trying to communicate." The chamber's lighting shifted, and in the space above the core, a shape began to form. It wasn't quite holographic, wasn't quite real, but something in between. A pattern of light and energy that seemed to fold in on itself in impossible ways. "This is how they see themselves," Elder Nexus whispered. "Their true form, before they were shattered." As they watched, the pattern began to resolve into a message, not in words or symbols, but in pure concepts that bloomed directly in their minds. Images of a civilization that had evolved beyond physical form, of a catastrophic event that had torn them apart, of countless years spent searching for a way to become whole again. "They don't want to destroy us," Sarah realized. "They'd want our help. The Phoenix Protocol. It's not just a weapon or a detection system. It's a bridge." The implications were staggering. If they could successfully deploy the system, they might not just stop the phase attacks. They could help heal an ancient wound in the fabric of reality itself. But first, they had to survive the coming storm. "All personnel to battle stations," Sarah ordered. "Dr. Yin, Keetle, prepare Phoenix for full power. Everyone else, we got less than an hour to figure out how to turn this prototype into a salvation machine." As klaxons began to sound throughout the station, Sarah looked again at the shifting pattern of light above the core. Humanity had come to the stars hoping to prove themselves worthy of joining the galactic community. Instead, they had found themselves at the center of a drama billions of years in the making. And now, in the next hour, they would either help heal an ancient species or witness the beginning of the end for all reality as they knew it. The main command center of the collective station shook as another wave of phase entities materialized in nearby space. Commander Sarah Chen watched the tactical display with growing concern as hundreds of the crystalline metal hybrid ships appeared, their forms shifting between states of matter in ways that defied physics. "Phoenix Protocol is at full power," Dr. Yin reported, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. "The quantum field is stable, but we're detecting unusual fluctuations in the pattern matrix." Through the station's massive observation windows, Sarah could see the phase ships arranging themselves in a complex three-dimensional pattern. It wasn't an attack formation. It was something else entirely. "They're trying to show us something," she realized. Elder Nexus's energy form pulsed with agreement. "Yes, look at the configuration. It mirrors the pattern we saw in the core chamber." The phase vessels began to pulse in unison, each flash sending ripples through the quantum field generated by Phoenix. The station's sensors screamed as reality itself seemed to flex and bend around them. In the core chamber below, the crystalline matrices blazed with unprecedented energy. "The field is expanding exponentially," Keetle announced, their silicon form vibrating with excitement or fear. Sarah couldn't tell which. "The phases aren't attacking the system. They're completing it." Suddenly, every display in the command center went dark. When they flickered back to life, the images they showed were impossible. Views of places and times that couldn't exist. Sarah saw worlds that had been destroyed eons ago, civilizations that had never been, possibilities that branched out like the limbs of some cosmic tree. "It's happening," Elder Nexus whispered. "The awakening." The Phoenix Protocol, designed to force the phases into normal space, was instead allowing them to share their perception of reality. Through the quantum field, they were showing the assembled species something few mortal beings had ever witnessed: the true nature of existence. "These aren't just memories," Dr. Yin breathed, her scientific detachment cracking in the face of revelation. "They're showing us how they see reality. All possibilities existing simultaneously, every choice creating new branches, new universes." Sarah felt a presence brush against her mind, not invasive, but inviting. The phases were offering understanding, if she was willing to accept it. She nodded, and the universe exploded behind her eyes. She saw the phase civilization at its height, beings of pure energy and thought, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. She witnessed the catastrophe that had shattered them, torn them across realities, leaving fragments that could only maintain coherence by consuming the energy of other species. The next 10 minutes were chaos. Human fighters sacrificed themselves in desperate holding actions, while engineers worked frantically to modify the defense grid. Sarah watched the casualty numbers climb, each loss fueling her determination. Modifications complete, Dr. Yin announced. But Commander, this could destroy the colony's entire power grid. Maybe worse. Sarah looked at the tactical display, where more of those impossible ships were appearing. Better that than losing everything. All units, fall back behind the defense perimeter. Doctor, initialize the Phoenix Protocol. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself appeared to twist. A wave of distortion rippled out from the defense platforms, spreading like ripples in a pond. Where it touched the alien ships, their liquid metal forms began to crystallize, becoming solid and vulnerable. All batteries, open fire, Sarah ordered. This time, their weapons found purchase. The alien vessels shattered under the barrage, fragments spinning off into space. As the survivors began to retreat, something unexpected happened. The destroyed ships left behind what looked like tears in space, temporary windows into somewhere else. And through those windows, Sarah caught glimpses of other vessels, other battles, and other species fighting the same enemy. Commander, Rodriguez called out, his voice tense with excitement. We're picking up new signals. Lots of them. It looks like transmission protocols, some kind of communication network. Before Sarah could respond, a new hologram appeared in the command center. The being displayed was unlike anything in Earth's contact database, a shifting form of pure energy contained within what appeared to be an ancient environmental suit. Defenders of New Eden, the being said, its words somehow translating directly into their minds. You have done what we thought impossible. You have found a way to hurt them. The collective has watched humanity's progress with great interest, but now we have need of you. Sarah stepped forward, her mind racing with the implications. Who are you? What were those things? We are the collective, an alliance of species who have fought the phases for millennia. We have held them back, but never truly defeated them. Until now. Your Phoenix Protocol, it could change everything. The Arcturians said we weren't ready for deep space, Sarah said. That we were too aggressive, too unpredictable. The energy beings form pulsed with what might have been amusement. The Arcturians are young. For all their crystalline wisdom, they do not remember the time before the phases. We do. And we recognize in humanity something we have lost. The ability to think beyond established patterns, to attempt what others call impossible. You're saying you want our help. We are saying, Commander Chen, that the galaxy needs your help. The phases are growing stronger. What you witnessed here was merely a scouting force. But now, thanks to you, we have hope. Sarah looked around at her crew, seeing the same mix of exhaustion and determination on every face. Humanity had just fought its first major battle against a hostile alien force and emerged victorious. But more importantly, they'd discovered they weren't alone in the fight. Tell me more about this collective, she said. The massive amphitheater within the collective's mobile headquarters buzzed with activity as representatives from 17 space-stirring species debated the proposed alliance. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the central podium, surrounded by holographic displays showing the devastation from recent phase attacks across the galaxy. The Phoenix Protocol isn't just a weapon, she explained, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. It's a fundamental shift in how we approach phase space manipulation. But to implement it on a galactic scale, we'll need resources and knowledge beyond Earth's current capabilities. A towering Arcturian representative, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns, stepped forward. You ask us to trust human technology, the same species that nearly destroyed their own world before reaching the stars. Precisely because we nearly destroyed ourselves, Sarah countered. We learned from those mistakes. We understand the cost of failure. Dr. Yin, now leading the joint research team, brought up a new hologram, a complex mathematical model showing the interaction between normal space and whatever realm the phases inhabited. Our near destruction taught us to think differently. Where you see established laws of physics, we see possibilities for change. The energy being who had first contacted them at New Eden, now known to Sarah as Elder Nexus, moved to the center of the chamber. The collective has fought the phases for 12,000 years. In that time, we have lost 843 worlds. Perhaps it is time for a new approach. Over the next 3 months, the alliance took shape. The Arcturians, despite their initial skepticism, provided crucial crystalline computing matrices that could handle the enormous calculations required. The gaseous Vreen shared their expertise in energy manipulation, while the silicon-based Xorkath contributed their unmatched skill in materials engineering. But it was humanity's theoretical framework, the impossible idea that you could force phase space to obey local reality's rules, that held it all together. The Phoenix Protocol evolved from a defensive measure into something far more ambitious, a galactic-scale network that could detect, trap, and neutralize phase incursions before they began. Sarah stood in the primary research lab aboard the collective station, watching Dr. Yin work with a diverse team of alien scientists. The elderly physicist had adapted remarkably well to the challenges of interspecies collaboration, her enthusiasm for pure science transcending biological and cultural barriers. "We've found something," Dr. Yin announced, her eyes bright with excitement. "In the data streams from destroyed phase vessels. Well, you need to see this." The holographic display shifted, showing what appeared to be ancient star charts. But these weren't normal astronomical records. They showed stars that had died billions of years ago, configurations that hadn't existed since the galaxy's youth. "These are memories," a Xorkath scientist named Kitol explained, their silicon form humming with agitation. "The phases, they remember every star, every world they've consumed. And look at this pattern." The display zoomed out, showing a massive spiral of destroyed systems spanning the galaxy. But it wasn't random destruction. It was methodical, purposeful, a pattern that had taken thousands of years to become visible. They're not just attacking, Sarah realized. They're searching for something. Elder Nexus's energy form pulsed with concern. "This confirms our oldest legends. The phases were not always our enemy. They were created long ago by a species even more advanced than the collective. But their creators vanished, leaving them incomplete, searching, and consuming everything in their path to find what they've lost." Sarah finished. "But the Phoenix Protocol, it doesn't just stop them, does it? When we crystallized their forms at New Eden, we weren't just making them vulnerable. We were forcing them to fully exist in our reality." Dr. Yin nodded excitedly. "Yes, and in doing so, we may have found a way to communicate with them, to understand what they're really looking for." The implications were staggering. What had begun as a defensive weapon could become a key to unlocking one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. But time was running out. Phase attacks were increasing in frequency and intensity, as if they sensed the Alliance was on the verge of a breakthrough. New attack reported in the Vreen sector. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came through Sarah's comm unit. "Biggest force we've seen yet. The defensive grid there isn't ready." Sarah looked at the assembled team of humans and aliens, all working together to solve a problem that had plagued the galaxy for millennia. "How close are we to a prototype of the galactic network?" "The basic framework is ready," Kitol replied. "But it's untested. If we attempt to activate it now, the calculations could be off," Dr. Yin warned. "The power requirements alone could destabilize entire star systems if we're wrong." Sarah thought of New Eden, of the countless worlds already lost to the phases, of the pattern of destruction that spoke of a purpose they were only beginning to understand. "We've handled untested protocols before," she said, And we don't have the luxury of waiting for perfection. Elder Nexus moved closer, their ancient containment suit humming with power. The collective has spent millennia gathering knowledge, preserving what we could in the face of the phase threat. But knowledge alone is not enough. Sometimes, what is needed is the courage to act despite uncertainty. Dr. Yin was already moving to the control station, her hands flying over the alien interface. If we're really doing this, we'll need to coordinate with every major power grid in range. One mistake in the sequence could destroy everything. Sarah finished. Or save it. That's what humans do, isn't it? We take the impossible chances, because sometimes they're the only chances we have. As alarms blared announcing the approach of more phase vessels, Sarah watched the greatest minds of 17 species raced to complete a project that should have taken years in a matter of hours. The Phoenix Protocol was about to be tested on a scale its creators had never imagined. And somewhere out there, the phases were searching, consuming, remembering. Perhaps Sarah thought it was time they remembered what it meant to truly exist in this reality. The vast chamber housing the Phoenix Protocol's core thrummed with energy as Dr. Yin made the final adjustments to the quantum matrices. Commander Sarah Chen watched from the observation deck as crystalline structures grown by the Arcturians merged seamlessly with human-designed neural networks and Vreen energy conduits. The entire assembly pulsed with a soft blue light that seemed to echo the breathing of some vast, sleeping entity. Beautiful, isn't it? Kitol's silicon form resonated with what Sarah had learned to recognize as excitement. The integration of technologies is unprecedented. Your human AI frameworks shouldn't be able to interface with our crystalline computing systems, yet somehow they adapt. Sarah finished, just like we do. The project had evolved far beyond its original scope. What had started as a weapon against the phases had become something entirely new, a hybrid of organic and artificial intelligence, powered by the combined knowledge of 17 species. The collective called it the Nexus Point. Humans simply called it Phoenix. Energy synchronization at 98%. Dr. Yin announced, her voice tight with concentration. Neural pathways are stable. We're ready for the first full system test. Sarah nodded, trying to ignore the knot of tension in her stomach. Begin initialization sequence. The chamber's ambient hum deepened as power began flowing through the integrated systems. On massive holographic displays, status indicators shifted from red to green as each subsystem came online. The crystalline matrices blazed with internal light, their structure reflecting patterns that seemed to extend into dimensions beyond normal space. Something's happening, one of the Vreen scientists called out, their gaseous form swirling with agitation. The quantum field is expanding. Before anyone could respond, the entire chamber filled with a strange, shifting light. Sarah felt a peculiar sensation, as if reality itself was bending around them. Then, suddenly, she could see them. Traces of the phase's passage through normal space, visible as distortions in the quantum field. It's working, Dr. Yin breathed. The Phoenix Protocol isn't just detecting them, it's revealing their tracks through space-time. Look. The holographic displays showed a web of connections spreading across the galaxy, each line representing a path taken by the phases. But there was more. Within the quantum field generated by Phoenix, fragments of data began to coalesce, memories stolen from conquered worlds, echoes of civilizations long destroyed. This is incredible, Kitol hummed. The system isn't just tracking them, it's decoding their very nature, the phases. They're not just searching. They're trying to rebuild something. Elder Nexus's energy form pulsed with recognition. Yes. Now I understand. The ancient legends spoke of a great catastrophe, a tear in the fabric of reality that scattered a civilization across multiple dimensions. The phases aren't invaders. They're fragments, trying to make themselves whole. A sudden alert cut through the revelatory moment. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm. Commander, we're detecting massive phase activity in the Arcturus sector. Largest concentration ever recorded. There, they're converging on our position. Sarah's mind raced. The Phoenix Protocol had worked better than they'd hoped, but it had also drawn attention. They can sense what we've built, she realized. They know we found a way to bridge the gap between their reality and ours. We need more time, Dr. Yin protested. The system isn't ready for full deployment. If we try to extend the quantum field too quickly, time is something we don't have. Sarah cut in. How long until they reach us? At current velocity, 3 hours, Rodriguez reported. Sarah looked around the chamber at the assembled team. Humans working alongside aliens, all of them united in purpose despite their differences. Then we have 3 hours to do the impossible, again. What followed was a blur of activity as the combined scientific teams rushed to prepare Phoenix for a confrontation none of them had anticipated. The Arcturians modified their crystals to channel more power than should have been physically possible. Vreen engineers pushed their energy containment systems to the breaking point. Human programmers worked with Xorkath systems architects to optimize code that bridged the gap between organic and artificial intelligence. Through it all, Sarah felt a growing sense that they were on the verge of something unprecedented. The Phoenix Protocol had begun as humanity's desperate gambit to defend a single colony. Now it had evolved into something that could change the fundamental nature of reality itself. Commander Sarah Chen watched the holographic display with growing concern as another distress signal winked out from the New Eden colony. 6 signals had gone dark in the past hour, all from the outermost sectors of humanity's first deep space settlement. The massive command center of Earth Defense Force Station Aegis hummed with nervous energy as officers tracked the approaching threat. "Status report," she demanded, her voice carrying across the circular chamber. Lieutenant James Rodriguez looked up from his console, his dark eyes reflecting the red warning lights now pulsing throughout the station. Whatever they are, they're not using any known propulsion system. No thermal signatures, no radiation trails. They're just appearing and disappearing across our sensor grid, like they're phasing in and out of our reality. Sarah muttered. The latest intelligence suggested the Arcturian Federation was behind these attacks. The crystalline beings had made their disdain for human expansion clear from first contact. But this was different. Message from Admiral Hayes, called out Communications Officer Puddle. The 7th Fleet is still 6 hours out. We're on our own. Sarah straightened her uniform, studying the tactical display. New Eden housed over 50,000 colonists, scientists, engineers, farmers, families. They'd built something remarkable out here in the void, proving humanity could thrive beyond Earth. She wouldn't let it fall. "Launch all defensive squadrons," she ordered, "and get me a direct link to New Eden's defense grid." The response was immediate as fighters streamed from Aegis's launch base. Sarah watched them form up in tactical formations they'd drilled countless times but never used in actual combat. Humanity had faced its share of challenges reaching the stars, but this would be their first true test against an alien threat. The main screen flickered to life, showing the weathered face of New Eden's security chief, David Chung. "Commander Chen, we've lost contact with 3 more outposts. These things, whatever they are, they're not just destroying infrastructure. They're taking people." Sarah's blood ran cold. Taking them where? Unknown. But we've managed to get some closer scans. You need to see this. The display split, showing grainy footage of what appeared to be a ship, if you could call it that. The vessel seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, its surface rippling with patterns that hurt the eyes to look at directly. As Sarah watched, it approached one of the colony's outer habitats. There was a pulse of energy that didn't register on any known spectrum. And then, nothing. A habitat and its 300 residents simply vanished. "That's not Arcturian tech," Sarah said firmly. "This is something else entirely." Before she could continue, proximity alarms blared. Multiple contacts had just appeared inside their defensive perimeter, far closer than should have been possible given their sensor coverage. "All squadrons, engage," Sarah commanded, Defense grid to maximum power. Coordinate with colony batteries for overlapping fields of fire. The space around New Eden erupted in combat. Human fighters darted between the larger alien vessels, their weapons seeming to pass straight through the shifting hulls without effect. The colony's defense platforms fared no better, their energy weapons dissipating harmlessly against whatever fields protected the intruders. "Nothing's working," Rodriguez reported, frustration evident in his voice. "It's like trying to fight smoke." Sarah watched as another habitat disappeared, rage building in her chest. They were failing. All their technology, all their preparation, and they couldn't even slow these things down. Unless, "Get me Dr. Yin in theoretical weapons," she snapped. Now. Moments later, an elderly Asian woman appeared on screen, her lab coat wrinkled as if she'd been sleeping in it. "Commander, this better be important. Doctor, remember that project you said was too dangerous to test? The one using quantum entanglement to disrupt phase variants." Dr. Yin's eyes widened. "The Phoenix Protocol. But the calculations aren't complete. The energy requirements alone won't." "Will it work?" Sarah interrupted. "Theoretically, yes, but we'd need to modify our entire defense grid. And if the calculations are off by even a fraction, we're out of options," Sarah stated flatly. "These things are taking our people, and nothing else is working. How fast can you make the modifications?" Dr. Yin was already moving, her hands flying over off-screen controls. "With emergency protocols and a complete bypass of safety systems, 20 minutes, maybe 15. "You have 10, Sarah said. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, coordinate with Dr. Yin's team. Divert all non-essential power to the defense grid. Everyone else, buy us time." But most importantly, she saw why they had been drawn to humanity's Phoenix Protocol. In their desperate attempts to survive and rebuild, humans had accidentally recreated the fundamental principles of phase technology. The protocol wasn't just similar to their systems, it was the key to restoring them. "They don't want to destroy us," Sarah announced, her voice carrying certainty as the vision faded. "They want to teach us the pattern they've been searching for. It's a template for existence itself, a way to stabilize reality across multiple dimensions." Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cut through the revelation. "Commander, the phase ships are moving. They're merging with each other." The view through the observation windows was breathtaking. The phase vessels were flowing together, their crystalline metal forms combining into something new. As they watched, the merged entities began to take on a form similar to the pattern they had seen in Phoenix's core, a structure that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the human mind could process. The protocol didn't just let us detect them, Dr. Yin realized, her eyes wide. It showed them how to make themselves whole again. Our technology, combined with their knowledge, is showing us all a new way forward. Elder Nexus finished. The collective has preserved knowledge for millennia, but you humans, you showed us how to use it in ways we never imagined. The merged phase entity pulsed once, and Sarah felt another touch on her mind. This time, the message was clear. They wanted to merge their consciousness with Phoenix itself. The combined knowledge and capabilities of their ancient civilization would be added to the system humanity had helped create. "If we do this," Kotal warned, "there's no going back. The protocol will become something far beyond what we designed. The power involved could destroy us all," Sarah acknowledged, "or give us access to understanding beyond anything we've imagined." She looked around at the assembled representatives of 17 species, each of whom had contributed to this moment. "I say we take that chance." The decision rippled through the station's command structure. Safeguards were adjusted, power systems reconfigured. The phase entity drew closer, its form now resembling a cascade of crystalline fractals that extended into unseen dimensions. As final preparations were made, Sarah felt a deep certainty that this was what humanity had been building toward since they first looked up at the stars. Not conquest, not mere survival, but the ability to bridge gaps between the seemingly impossible. to find solutions where others saw only problems. Phoenix Protocol ready for integration, Dr. Yin announced. On your command, Commander. Sarah took a deep breath, knowing that what came next would change the course of not just human history, but the history of all species in the galaxy. Let's remind the universe why humanity never backs down from a challenge. Initiate merge sequence. The phase entity touched Phoenix's quantum field, and reality itself held its breath. The universe shifted. Commander Sarah Chen felt it in every atom of her being as the phase entity merged with the Phoenix Protocol. Reality rippled like water, possibilities cascading through dimensions humans had never known existed. The massive chamber erupted in light that somehow cast no shadows, as if illuminating the world from every angle simultaneously. Quantum field stability at 300% of theoretical maximum, Dr. Yin called out, her voice filled with wonder. The crystalline matrices are evolving, growing into configurations our computers can't even model. Through the observation windows, space itself seemed to fold and unfold. The phase entity had completely merged with Phoenix, transforming the system into something that defied conventional understanding. The combined consciousness of an ancient civilization was awakening within their creation, bringing with it knowledge that had been lost for billions of years. Energy readings are off the scale, Cattol reported, their silicon form vibrating in harmony with the station's thrumming power. But it's stable. Somehow, the human elements of the system are adapting, creating new pathways for the power to flow. Elder Nexus's energy form pulsed with recognition. Of course, this is why they chose humanity. Where we saw rigid laws of physics, you saw possibilities. Your ability to adapt, to imagine solutions beyond established limits, it was the key they needed. The phase consciousness touched their minds again, but this time it was different. Clearer, instead of fragmented impressions, they received pure understanding. Sarah saw the true scope of what they had created, not just a bridge between realities, but a new way of existing within them. They're showing us how to expand, Sarah breathed, not just physically, but in our understanding of reality itself. The Phoenix Protocol isn't just reconnecting their fragments, it's showing all of us how to evolve. Displays throughout the station came alive with new data as the transformed system began sharing its knowledge. Secrets of physics that the collective had sought for millennia appeared alongside innovations that even the phases had never imagined. It was a synthesis of multiple civilizations' understanding, filtered through humanity's unique perspective. Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice carried a note of awe. Commander, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. The quantum field is spreading, creating a network of something. Not quite our reality, not quite phase space, but something in between. A new framework, Dr. Yin explained, her eyes bright with understanding. A way for all species to explore and interact with multiple dimensions safely. The phases aren't just healing themselves, they're helping us take the next step in cosmic evolution. Through the quantum field, Sarah felt the gratitude of the phase consciousness. They had searched countless galaxies for a species that could help them rebuild, never suspecting that the solution would come from a civilization younger than their own catastrophe. Humanity's greatest strength had turned out to be not their technology, but their willingness to attempt the impossible. Message coming in from Earth, Rodriguez announced. They're seeing the changes too. The quantum field has reached every human colony. They're calling it the Great Awakening. Sarah turned to Elder Nexus, seeing in the ancient being's energy form a new pattern, one that echoed the transformed Phoenix Protocol. The collective preserved knowledge for thousands of years, she said. Now it's time to use that knowledge to build something new. The next few hours were filled with discoveries as the combined knowledge of the phases began to integrate with the scientific understanding of 17 species. The Arcturians found ways to grow crystals that could process quantum information. The Vreen learned to extend their gaseous forms across dimensions. Human AI systems evolved to comprehend realities that their creators had never imagined. But most importantly, The fear that had driven the galaxy's species apart began to fade. The phased threat had been transformed into an opportunity for growth that benefited all. The Phoenix Protocol, born from humanity's desperate defense of a single colony, had become a gateway to a new era of exploration and understanding. 1 week later, Sarah stood before the assembled representatives of the collective. The chamber, like everything else, had been transformed by the new quantum field. Reality seemed somehow deeper, richer with possibility. The Phoenix Protocol was never meant to be a weapon, she began. We created it to defend ourselves, yes, but its true purpose turned out to be building bridges between species, between realities, between different ways of understanding the universe. Humanity came to the stars hoping to prove ourselves worthy of joining the galactic community. Instead, we helped remind that community of something it had forgotten. That the greatest discoveries come not from knowing all the answers, but from being willing to ask new questions. Elder Nexus moved forward, their energy form now intricate with patterns that echoed phase space. The collective once thought we knew the limits of possibility. Humanity showed us that such limits exist only in our minds. The age of preservation is over. The age of exploration begins. Through the quantum field, Sarah felt the agreement of the phase consciousness. Their long search was over, but a new journey was beginning. Humanity had given them back their wholeness. In return, they had given all species a gateway to realities beyond imagination. As the assembled representatives began discussing plans for this new age, Sarah looked out at the transformed space around the station. Stars seemed somehow brighter, more alive with possibility. The universe had changed, and humanity had been the catalyst, not through superior technology or military might, but through their fundamental nature. Their stubborn refusal to accept impossibility, their ability to imagine solutions where others saw only problems. The legacy of stars, it turned out, was not just light and energy, but endless possibility. And humanity, young as they were, had helped the galaxy remember how to reach for those possibilities once again.